Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible because I spent all the time doing a slideshow and cool data cards that hopefully you can just look at those and I don't really have to say anything. But that's right, it's the Arbites review from the Soulshackle box for Kill Team, and this is specifically the Exaction squad. I have also done a Hand of the Archon squad review in exactly the same format as this, and you will also see a Vantage Point podcast episode 30, which is me actually fully reading, not reviewing, but reading just all of the narrative words and stories, etc. from the Soulshackle box. It's done as part of my podcast, but it's just me doing it in case you don't have time to read it, but you do listen to podcasts, because I don't think anybody's done that before. Let's get into it. So you're doing a take all comers list, so you know you're on 32mm bases if you want to proxy things, and you're also... the dog is on a 28.5mm base. Cool. This is a tough one. So yeah, you want to build one of each specialist, but this is a genuine 2-box squad. Sorry. And I would also say this is going to take some real thinking to figure out if you're one box. What do you not build? One of each specialist, leader with a shield. You have gunner options. You can take 2, but you have 3 options. You're going to take the grenade launcher and the heavy stubber. Man, so difficult, so difficult. I would strongly recommend doing what I've done. We'll see them soon, but I've actually done my own conversions, my proxies, where the gunners, no, not the gunners, sorry. Well, actually, yes, the gunners I've taken as battle sisters because they have perfect proxies for the heavy stubber and for the heavy webber. And then I've also done some Paladinite Enforcer subjugators for shield dudes. There you go. Just because thematically, I think they both make sense. They're on the correct size bases, etc. And also, I also proxy my leader as the cool Inquisitor dude who has a shield. No, shield of faith. His faith is his shield, is what I'm saying. But like, I didn't want to buy 2 boxes. I think finding proxies is a really good thing, because I think that quite genuinely, sometimes you are going to want to go with 4 shields, but nobody can yet tell you which specialist you don't build. Now, because I went out and bought some Paladinite subjugators, I can now build every specialist from the box. I don't have to make that choice. But it's your call. It's your call. Oh, hey, look at that. It's a double hello. Now that was a subscriber only benefit, because only subscribers deserve the beauty of a double pleasantry. Hey, I'm loving Kill Team. I hope you guys are too. Hopefully we're all going to love the Soulshackle contents. But I've got merch, I've got a podcast I already mentioned, I've got a Discord where lots of people, much better at the game than I do, talk. I've got another channel that talks about 40k, I don't post on that much these days, but it's going to kick off around June when 40k 10th edition releases. And if you really like what I'm doing here, consider supporting me on Patreon. Very genuinely, it all helps. Let's get into it. You are an 11-man team. You are... your leader can either be assault or ranged. Now, ranged means a shotgun, so it's only 6 inches. And we're going to really dig into what exactly a shotgun versus melee means. You can run 4 of your shields. That's a big thing. You can run 4. You only have 10 models, and you have access to like 9 specialists. But 4 of them can be shields. 2 of them can be gunners. And I've got to be honest, I think you always want to take 4 shields. So difficult to make choices with this team. You get security and seek and destroy as your archetypes. And then you have your ability, the thing that makes them stand out. It's called Ruthless Efficiency. It can't be done with blast or grenade weapons. It allows you to shoot into melee within 6 inches. Otherwise, it follows the normal valid target rules. The reason that this could get in the way is because, for example, you charge somebody in melee. If you've charged someone on a conceal, your model, because they will then be within 1 inch of it, if your guy that wants to shoot into them is like exactly 6 inches away behind them, well, that model's actually going to be concealed and in light terrain, essentially. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, TacOps. Once again, I don't think you're ever going to take any of these. These aren't as bad as the Drukhari ones, but they're still not good, especially keeping in mind that the crit ops from the crit ops pack are just easier to score these days. So, seize or incapacitate revealed turn 1, select enemy to be a criminal. Kill that criminal for 1 VP, and then when he dies, he drops a token. Control that token at the end of the game for 2 VP. That's not terrible, you know, but yeah. Contain the threat. If every enemy is within 6 inches of their drop zone and or within 2 inches of your operatives, gain a VP. Do it again for 2 VP. So the problem with that is, of course, that the enemy can just say, oh, I'm going to move a guy. And then, yeah, that's it. And then you have not contained the threat. And yeah, it's all down to enemy movement on that. And have every single model within, I don't know. So, gather evidence. So, only the Malocator, the Revelatum, and Rover can perform this, but you perform a 1 AP action on an objective you control. Whoever performs the action must live till the end of the battle for 1 VP, and 2 must live for 2 VP. No, don't take this. Also, though, I will say, clearly this should have been plant evidence, not gather evidence. Strat Ploys. Guilt reveals itself. Enemies don't get cover within 2 circle instead of 1 circle. Oh, that's... Keeping in mind that the majority of your guns, are 6-inch range. If you're shooting, you're probably going to be within 4 instead of 6. That's really good. That's really good. And I was going to say this is almost like getting like your entire team can have a semi-indirect. But with indirect, they would still get a cover save. With this, they count as having no cover at all within 4. Not bad. Inviolate jurisdiction. Reroll 1 dice when shot and on an objective. There you go. Nice. Defense. Yeah. Dispense justice. Fight in melee without moving. Reroll an attack dice. So this includes when you're charged. This is primarily going to be used when you're charged. If you think you're about to get charged for a whole turn, dispense justice, you get to reroll attack dice. Not bad at all. An attack dice. Terminal decree. Shoot an enemy within 4 inches and you get to reroll 1 dice. That's going to work quite nicely with guilt reveals itself, isn't it? Yeah. So essentially, you can kind of choose to get a reroll while standing still, in which case you'd use dispense justice and inviolate jurisdiction, or you can get a reroll whilst shooting, so you can use guilt reveals itself and terminal decree. If you want to really buff those are you got your melee ones and you've got your range ones. Then go to Tac Ploys. Long arm of the Emperor's Law. Are you ready for this one? In the scouting step, the opponent cannot resolve their selection. Ooh. I struggle to see when you wouldn't do this, but that's fine. Many teams, for example those that can do a forward deploy, you just assume that they start at 1 less CP. It's the same for this. Real good. Real good. Yeah. Exact punishment. If you're shot within 3 inches or you're fought against, after surviving that attack, the friendly operative can immediately fight or overwatch against a defending enemy. That's quite nice. I like that. Brutal backup. After fighting with combat support, so there have to be 2 of you, the other guy that didn't fight can immediately perform a free fight action. Same operative. Has to be on the same operative, not a different one. So, pretty good. Then execution order. Select an enemy operative in line of sight. Until the end of the battle, reroll all attack dice, melee, and shooting. You can only use that once. If you need somebody dead, you can dead them. We then go to the sweet actual data cards. So I explained this in the Hand of the Archon video, but I forgot to explain it here. At the time of recording, I don't actually have the rules to hand. So I was not able to pick out the models. I was not able to do some funky stuff here. I've had to use my own proxy models. As I mentioned, my leader here, I've taken this super cool looking Inquisitor model. He's got a sword, therefore I'm always running my leader as a shield dude. I know what you're thinking, he's got a sword, so that can be a Dominator model, fair enough. Where's his suppression shield? It's his faith. His faith is his shield. I thought it through, guys. Also, it means thematically, my Arbites squad is actually going to be an Inquisitor's retinue, which is sweet. So, the Dominator Maul and Suppression Shield, that means I'm not giving him the combat shotgun, but we will cover that in the next slide. So, what do you do with these? You can pick a stance, offensive or defensive. They both have the same basic stats of 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4 damage. If you're offensive, you're lethal 5 up, getting stun. If you're defensive, you get repress and you get shield. Now, repress is this operator is always the attacker. And shield, as I'm sure you know, is you can parry 2 at a time. In case you're unaware, if you roll a crit, you can parry 2 crits, or a crit and a normal, or 2 normals. If you get a normal, you can just parry 2 normals. So yeah, real good. It means, honestly, most enemies, even those with 5 dice, can charge into you, and you're not going to take much damage at all. Because you have repress, which means you're the attacker, and you have shield. Pretty good. You then have if you remember on the official model, he has this weird looking loudspeaker drone thing. That's the Nuncio Aquila. Is it just Nuncio sounds like Annuncio, which is like announcement? I don't know. Anyway, enemy pick up mission actions within 3 inches of the token / this operative if you haven't deployed the token. Require an additional APL. Pretty good, pretty good. And determining control of objective markers if within 3 inches of token / this opt. If you haven't dropped this yet, treat enemy ops as -1 APL. Cool. And then so if you haven't used this, then this guy essentially has a 3-inch aura around him that has those things. In reality, I think that's how you play this model. Let's quickly read the other thing. Deploy Nuncio Aquila 1 AP. First time that you perform this, you can place within 6 inches of this operative horizontally, and it has fly essentially, so any height vertically. And then thereafter, when you use this unique action, instead of deploying it again within 6 inches of this operative, you move it from where you left that token. I think in reality, unless it's an absolutely clutch thing you do, you're not deploying this, you're just treating it as your Proctor Exactant, your leader, always has that aura. And if you do deploy it, it's not something you're going to move every turn. Maybe if you have a free APL on one of your turns, you will deploy it and you will just leave it on a hotly contested objective so that you can then move the Proctor around freely. But in general word of advice, just keep it on the guy and pretend you don't have it, or it's not a thing you can do. The alternatives are you can take a combat shotgun, which is 4 attacks hitting on 2s, 4/4, range 6 inches, and then long range, 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 2/2. So, you know, a 4/4 shotgun hitting on 2s isn't terrible, let's be honest. I cannot say whether you should be running your leader as a shotgun or as a shield guy. We're going to talk about that again soon. Let's talk about the gunners first. As you can see, I've done my own data sheets here, and I've done my proxy models, which for the gunners have been the Battle Sisters here. Because of course, I had a grenade launcher lying around, so that's an easy one. And for the other gunners, they have a heavy bolter and heavy flamer, which is easily a heavy stubber, you know, thematically the same thing there. And for the Weber, the heavy flamer looks like a Weber. Cool. So, the heavy stubber is 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 3/4, ceaseless, fusillade, heavy. And the standard melee is repression baton, 3 attacks hitting on 4s, 2/2. Anyway, the heavy stubber is fine. You don't have much long range shooting, so maybe this is just what you want to take. Maybe, I guess. But I also would say that one of your gunners could be up for the possibility of not being taken once things shake out and people decide, actually, I don't need that because my entire game plan is about moving up the board, and the heavy stubber then becomes dead weight. The gunner with the grenade launcher is 4 attacks on 4s, 4/6, AP1. It's fine. You know, it's an AP1 weapon with 4/6. Do note it doesn't have the additional profile to become blast, which is weird. They only have the crack grenade version. Don't know why. And then, but you're hitting on 4s. I don't know about that. I'm not a fan of hitting on 4s myself. We then have the final gunner, the Weber, which is 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 2/2, range 6, lethal 5-up, stun. I guess. I think I would have liked to have seen this weapon be a torrent weapon, so that you can spread stun around a bit more easily. As it is right now, I mean, stun is nice, but I'm probably not taking it, really. Anyway, we then have the marksman. Now, unfortunately, as you see here, I don't have any proxies for these, and I don't have access to the pictures, so I couldn't jazz them up for you. But once I finally get mine here, I will edit these for my patrons that, oh, hey, do you like these data cards? If you're a $10 patron, you can get access to them. I forgot to mention that, didn't I? But for my patrons that do want to use these, once I have done my own models, I will put those up in these nifty little triangles for you, or leave them blank so you can put your own models in instead. Anyway, the marksman is a long-range shotgun dude. The executioner shotgun, 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4/1, heavy, silent, mortal wound 3. And you do have take aim, game balanced, and no cover, which is pretty good. Yeah, I'll probably take this guy. I would rather have this because it's silent with mortal wounds than the heavy stubber. So, yeah. And you can get balanced and no cover, which is, I don't know, pretty good. We then go to the, apparently I've called it Buddy Cop movie. So the Vigilant is your standard shotgun dude. He's essentially the warrior of the team. And then the Subductor is the shield guy that you can take 4 of. This, as you can see, is one of my Palanite Enforcer Subjugator models. I built 4 of them. One of them doesn't have a helmet. I think they're cool. Yeah, I can't lie. I think they're cool. So these are essentially just the 2 different loadouts for the leader. The Vigilant is the combat shotgun version, so it's the same, but it's at -1 ballistic skill. The Subductor is the same, both on the offensive and defensive. It has all the same abilities, except it doesn't get lethal 5 on the offensive ability, and that's it. That's the only difference. But your repress ability is still the same. You always get to be the attacker. Your shield ability is always the same. You parry 2 at a time. Cool. And I think the way you're playing these, hypothetically, is your Subductor moves up, forces the enemy, well, charges or gets charged, either one. You don't care which, really, because you're always the attacker. And your in defensive stance, you just block away all the attacks. That's it. Yep. Even if you only get 2 hits, which is possible because you're 4 attacks hitting on 4s, so you might only get 2 hits, but you're potentially parrying 4 of their dice. It's not, you know, in theory, potentially no enemy is beating you, is doing any damage to you, right? So certainly any enemy that isn't a melee specialist does not want to charge you, because you will parry away their 2 out of 3 attacks that hit, and then they hit you for 4. Okay, and then the Vigilant, so you know, this is the standard combat shotgun now. It's got close range and long range. It's 4 attacks, at close range hitting on 3s, at long range hitting on 5s, at close range 4/4, long range 2/2. There you go. Is what it is. I call them Buddy Cop movie, the theory being that your Subductor gets charged or charges, and then your Vigilant moves up, and because of their ability throughout the, I can't remember what it's called now, but their ability, the Vigilant can still get its shots off through the Subductor, because they can shoot into melee. So you'd always kind of want to move a Subductor along with another model that can shoot. However, when it comes to thinking about what you need to build, I'm not sure if you're taking any Vigilance, because you've already got 4 subductors in there, plus, at least the way I've built them, my Inquisitor leader dude, who will be 5 shields, and then I've got 6 models, 6 specialists that I can take, but there are, I think, either 7 or 8 total specialists. I don't need a random dude with a shotgun. I've got other guys that not only have a shotgun, but also can do something else. But what else can they do? Well, here we have our version of the comms/auspex. Beautifully not named something we already know. So the comms is called a signifier, the auspex is called a revelatum. They're not exactly a comms and auspex, so let's read. So the comms gets a standard shotgun, much like I was saying, why take a vigilator when I can take a signifier? Same weapon. Both hitting on 3s, exactly the same. But the Vox signifier also can give +1 APL to a visible model, but not rover. Then you've got the revelatum. Now this guy has a scoped shot pistol. This is the guy that's holding the pistol. If you've seen the previews, and it's 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 3-1, mortal wound 2. So it's just different to a. Its total potential damage is lower than a shotgun, but on a crit you're getting mortal wound 2, which is pretty good, I guess. But I don't think that's why you're taking it. You're taking it because first in the field, end of the initiative phase in the first turning point, if you're in the drop zone, you get a free normal move. That's pretty good. This guy gets to move up. And then you have Soul Guilt Scan, 1 AP. Select an enemy visible and within 6 inches. Until the end of the turning point, friendlies within 3 inches treat enemies being on engage. Now, this is identical to the Auspex version, the Vox Breaker from Phobos. And in the Phobos, it's like the worst model. So, it's not great. Except, in this team, you are going to be close enough to use this from turn 2 onwards. Phobos, kind of not. You've all got long range weapons. You don't really want to be that close. In this, pretty good. Okay, we then get to Dog Bros, which is the Leash Master. He's the guy holding a leash, which we assume is for the Rover Cyber Mastiff, but could also be for Kinky Gimp Buddy, who's in the next page. So let's look at the Rover Cyber Mastiff first. So you are, and bear with me on this, normally dogs are 4 circle move. This guy's only 3 circle move. Your APL 2, GA 1, defense 3, save 4, wound 7. That's right. You are exactly the same as everybody else. You're not a lower wound count. You have a mechanical bite, which is 4 attacks on force 3-5 damage. You're a beast. Other than the gather evidence mission action, which you're never going to perform because it's not a good TacOp, this operative cannot perform mission actions or take equipment. That means, for example, on Into the Dark, you can't open doors. However, you can perform Apprehend. Oh, and this is the first time we're going to have to explain this. This comes up 2 more times after this, so pay attention. This is a thing your army can do. Apprehend, it always costs you 1 AP. It's called different things though, so we'll get that. Apprehend, select an enemy operative in engagement range of this operative. They suffer D3 mortals, and until the engagement range is left, they are apprehended, which means when they fall back, roll a D6, at +1 to the result for each wound it has left remaining that is above this operative's remaining wounds. If the result is below this operative's remaining wounds, the enemy can't fall back. Also, and I haven't put it on here for some reason, also, when it goes to perform an action, it can only perform the pass action. What? Yeah. We then go to the Leash Master, who will be, I called them Dog Bros for a reason, who will be buffing our rover. In what way will he be doing that? Because sure enough, his weapons, stat lines, they're the same as everything else. Handler. He's a GA2 with the Rover Mastiff. Okay. Cool. Good to have a GA2 lying around sometimes. But when you deploy, you can also select an attack pattern for Rover. Those are aggressive, swift, and defensive. That is, aggressive, your melee gains relentless. If you're going to be doing melee with your Cyber Mastiff, you need this. Okay? 100%, because your 4 dice hitting on 4s, that's not good enough. You can be swift, which is add circle to your movement. That's making him 4 circle move like real dogs. Or you can be defensive, which is +1 to your save, which should take him from a 4-up save to a 3-up save. Maybe. And then command is a 0 AP action. You select Rover when he's within 6 inches of this operative, and you can change its attack patterns into anything else. You can do it as many times as you want. So you can change that anytime. You can change it whenever you need. You know, if you need to suddenly gain extra movement to get a charge, you can do +2 movement. You can, do whatever you need. We then get the Tech Bros, Tech Guys, the Castigator and the Malocator. The Castigator is the Gimp Mask guy that's holding manacles. Let's read him first, shall we? So, say normal stuff, combat shotgun. He's a little bit better in melee. He's got the Excruciator Maul instead of the Repression Baton. It's 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 4-4, as opposed to the standard, which is 3 attacks hitting on 4s, 2-2. So, pretty good. He's essentially your leader, but hitting on 3s instead of 2s. But he's also got Rending and Stun, which is very nice. So this guy is pretty good. He has Engendered Focus. You can ignore all modifiers to all characteristics. This means you never count as injured, you can never be made to be injured, etc. You also get Zealous Dedication. You get a 6-up Feel No Pain. Anytime you take any damage, you can roll an additional dice for each wound you take, and on a 6, you don't take it. And then he has Castigator's Arrest. Now you see here I put Manacles equipment, but 10 wounds instead of 7. So obviously we're going to have to see the next page where we see the equipment and what exactly that means. But it's essentially Apprehend, as I just read for Rover, but I will go over it again. We then get the Malocator. Normal dude, combat shotgun, repression baton. Acute focus, perform mission action or pick up for 1 less APL. I think, as we've all played more and more Into the Dark and we're playing on the new Critical Ops pack, I think people are really understanding how useful performing a mission action for free, or well, 1 less APL, can be. Like, it's really, really good. Whereas before Into the Dark, I wouldn't have really given it much more thought than, oh, yeah, maybe, I guess. If it happens, it happens. But now I'm like, nice. This guy's up first. He's opening the door and he's still getting through, sort of thing. Unique action, Versicant for 1 AP. Select an enemy operative in line of sight. Shooting in melee for all friendlies can retain normal hit as a crit. So understand, this is in line of sight, not invisibility. So he has to be able to take a shot at that guy legally to get this shot off. And if he's doing that, then that means you're not shooting, which is probably fine, you know, but like, just keep in mind that you're giving up a shot to use this, essentially. Which takes us to the equipment. So, first up, shot pistol for 1 EP, 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, 3-3, range 6. I've got to be honest, I don't quite know why this, I don't know who would take this. Sorry, that's not true. You can give this to your shield guys. If you want to give them the ability to shoot on the off chance they can't make a charge, you can do this. Which I guess makes sense. Yep, because they don't have amazing equipment, so maybe a shot pistol on your 4 dudes is a good idea. You get the reinforced mirror visor for 1 EP. Ignore modifiers to APL and you can't be stunned. Not bad. Manacles for 2 equipment points. Perform a fight against an enemy with 7 wounds or fewer. Or less. Fewer is correct, but or less for the Americans there. If they are not dead, as long as you stay within engagement range, the enemy operative can only pass. Really good. So, obviously, the negative here, if you take manacles, you're only ever taking manacles if you're up against a normal human team, because you can only do it against operatives with 7 wounds or fewer. The buff that the Gimp Mask guy and Rover get is that they can do it against models with 10 wounds or fewer, which is pretty good because suddenly it ups who you can do it against. But you'll still understand, it's also, for most of them, for Rover it's slightly different. For everybody else, it's wounds characteristic, not their remaining wounds. so you can never apprehend, or whatever it is, manacle, imprison, whatever it's called, detain a Space Marine, for example. So, and then you get strobing phospher-lumen for 1 EP. Enemy visible and within 6 inches cannot reroll attack dice, melee and shooting, against operative within 2 inches of this one. Pretty good, I guess. Yeah, to be clear, that means it gives you a little aura of the enemy cannot reroll at any operative within 2 inches of the guy that has the strobing phospher-lumen. You know, blocking rerolls is pretty good. I imagine for 1 EP, you probably do actually want a few of these scattered throughout your squad. Yeah, I think a few strobing phospher-lumens, maybe some shot pistols on your shield guys, and yeah, pretty cool. You also have access to frag, crack, and stun grenades. Frag and crack is always good. You know, kind of assume that your shield guys probably want those instead of a shot pistol, I guess. And that's it. That's the entirety of the Arbites team, and if you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to give you a big triple hello. Wow, wasn't that wholesome? Guys, I went through this as quickly as I could. I'm really sorry that I couldn't give you better advice about exactly what to build. And the only reason for that is because I haven't decided myself which specialist I don't want to take. It's really tough. It's really tough. If I'm honest, right now, I'm almost leaning towards Rover and the Leash Master being models I don't want on here. But I don't want to give that advice just yet. Just know that some people who maybe have actually, you know, wait a month, wait for people to figure this team out a little bit, and then build them if you're really concerned. Otherwise, do what I did, buy some Battle Sisters for gunners, buy some Paladite Enforcer Subjugators for shield guys, and proxy those, okay? There you go. Cool. And of course, hey, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Nothing helps a small channel like mine more. Don't forget to check out the other day one Soulshackle releases. Also, very soon, imminently, maybe even tonight, on the day that this goes live, I'm going to be on Play on Tabletop. So make sure to check them out. I'm going to be doing some Kill Team battle reports together. Even how to play Kill Team. So, and you know, I have a Discord, and if you really like what I'm doing here at Patreon, all that good stuff, and don't forget to check out my Vantage Point podcast for Kill Team. Alright, thank you very much, everybody. Stay gangster, and don't forget to stay hydrated, because oh my god, I'm hyped.